Alright, let's continue. So, another note for 8th edition is that ranged attacks, infantry with ranged attacks, can shoot in 2 ranks, just standard now. There's different rules for that, I really haven't looked them up, but the bottom line is archers are really going to get a boost. And archers have typically been overlooked because they're so fragile, meaning if you're about to get charged, you got to reform into ranks if you have a substantive unit of them, and they take up too much of the deployment zone. You know, to have 3 units of 10 archers, that's really going to cramp your style and spread you out. But not true if you have 3 units of 10 archers, each 5 wide, 2 deep, being able to shoot just as effectively. That is really a big difference. So I think you're going to see the resurgence of the archers. So let's talk about the undead armies. There are 2. There's Tomb Kings. I'm a huge fan of Tomb Kings. I haven't played them for 8 years, so they're probably a bit dated and underpowered compared to the regular armies, but I still think they're a pretty strong choice for a beginner because they are low model count, easy to paint, and you can grow with them. But they are, in my opinion, a finesse army. Like, you can't just go in and just beat people up with sheer brute force. And they're not very forgiving either. If you make mistakes, if you leave your Hierophants, which are the spellcasters of the army, exposed, and they get killed, the whole army just goes away. Vampire counts. Vampire counts are not low model count. They are very high model count, but they are pretty easy to paint. But I'd say the curve is pretty shallow for learning vampire counts. You've got to, you've really got to push it to play them at, very competitively. Now, some people, I'll get a lot of disagreement on this, saying, vampire counts are great, and, they're so powerful, they have so many, wicked units, and that all is very true. But my point is that it's easy, how do I explain this? Like, there's a limited range of activity you can have with vampire counts. They don't have a lot of, tricky stuff to them. I think once you learn how to play them or play against them, you're going to max out pretty fast. But they are a pretty rock-solid army, not a bad army for beginners. They definitely rank first or second place in terms of resiliency, meaning if you make a mistake and somebody kills a bunch of your guys, they're very forgiving. They don't break because they're undead, although they can crumble, but you can always summon more units. So definitely the most resilient of all the army. Alright, let's talk about the beast armies, and that means Beastmen and Skaven. Now, Skaven are riding high right now. They just came out with a new army book. They have fantabulous plastic sets. They're just through the roof in terms of how great they are. Now, for a beginner's army, boy, Skaven are so expensive to do. You have to paint, buy, build a lot of figures to get your army. The model count can be as high as 200 plus on them. So don't plan on just painting a few Skaven. Don't run them in blocks of 15. A Skaven army, the core really is at least 3 blocks of 30 figures. Never mind all the supplemental stuff like giant rats and whatnot. Just a few comments on specific units. Storm Vermin, I'm not hearing a lot of love for the Storm Vermin, even though they got great models. Some people may disagree, but they just don't quite fit with the army. The clan rats are where it's at. Slaves definitely have their place as well. My opinion is the best rare choice is the Doom Wheel. And you have a lot of people that like just the sheer killiness of the Hell Pit Abomination, but I'm a fan of the Doom Wheel. 8th edition sees something interesting happen for Skaven, which is it used to be you just get 2 rare choices in your typical game, 2,000 to 2,999 points. And so that meant you really had to maximize that by taking the higher point costed rare choices. But now you could take 2 Doom Wheels and 2 Warp Lightning Cannons, which are 90 points each, and still be under 500 points worth of rare choices for a typical 2,000 point game. So my opinion is the Plague Claw Catapult and the Warp Lightning Cannon, you're going to see a resurgence on those war machines. And Skaven are great all around because they have good close combat, they have weird technological stuff, they have great wizards, they have great ranged attacks, they're fun to play, their high leadership from the rank thing, weight of numbers or whatever it's called, is really makes them so that they're not running away so much. Okay, so Skaven do have an alternate build, and that is the Plague Army. This army build is basically Skrulk as a lord. Oh, and by the way, in 8th edition, because the characters are now percentages, armies with low point cost characters like Skaven and Goblins can really take a lot more heroes. So it's not like you've got to max them out anymore. You can take a lot of little piddly heroes, which I think is great. So anyway, you take Lord Skrulk as your lord, and at 470, I mean, one model that you can get conceivably out of the Plague, what's that called? The Plague Furnace kit, because it comes with a plastic, you know, wizard-looking guy. And I think that makes a better Skrulk than anything. So he's 470, so there's your Lord choice, and a quarter of your army just with one figure. And then you get 2 Plague Priests. You could possibly take more under the new rules. And then you take a couple of units of Plague Monks, and 2 Plague Furnaces, and Censer Bears, a couple of Doom Wheels, which I usually convert up and call Plague Wheels. That makes really a hard-hitting army. And that is low model count, forgiving, and easy to paint, which are the trademarks of a good beginner army. Alright, now onto the other beast army, which is Beastmen. So, Beastmen, I have not played with them. By the way, they have the newest book of them all. I have not played with them nor against them. But I have read the book and I've read up a little on them, so I'll just tell you my 2 bits, whatever that may be worth. Now, oh boy, Beastmen are not a power army, and I believe that their strengths have yet to be discovered. In other words, you think, ooh, Beastmen is like a chaos army. It's going to be kind of like, you know, demons or warriors of chaos or something like a hard-hitting, you know, mail-fisted hammer in your face army. Even just in terms of having giant blocks of cheap models. But I don't think that's Beastmen at all. I think Beastmen are possibly the trickiest finesse army that's out there. And I suspect that I'm simply just not smart enough to figure out how to play them correctly. Cameron, what do you have to say?
I've only played 2 games with them. Against High Elves. First one was a massacre. For me. Second one was, yeah. No, I massacred High Elves.
Oh, okay, wow.
Second one was a tie in my favor.
Okay. So what's good on the list?
Minotaurs, I think, are much better than they look.
Really? Because I pegged them as kind of the chumps of the list.
I took 3 Minotaurs with great weapons against a unit of 15 White Lions.
Oh, wow.
And
that's a toughie. You just blew through them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all about getting the impact hits.
Oh, and I'm seeing some painted Minotaurs over here.
Oh, they're getting there, yeah.
That's real nice.
Yeah.
And a Doom Bolt. All right. Definitely going to be a lot of different builds for Beastmen. My only comment is in the rare section, because again, you get 25% in rares, so that means you get 625 points worth of rares in a 2,500 point game, or probably more typically a 2,000 point game. Actually, Warhammer Fantasy is mostly played at 2,500.